Okay, all of the documentation that could support this budget discussion begins on page 108 of your packet. Assistant Mayor, you had a request that, a motion that, to table something from a previous meeting.
Yeah, at the last meeting, Councilor Stone made and we passed a motion to table discussion on anything to do with the potential addition of funding for an office assistant for the administrative area here. That motion passed. I would like to make a motion to take that discussion off the table and move it so that we can be discussing it as part of our budget discussion this evening.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
I think I heard Councilor Kier first. So the motion was made by Assistant Mayor Dameron and seconded by Councilor Kier. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the item is off the table for discussion. So, moving on, what you have seen, just for clarification purposes, what you see in your packet are all of the changes that we made as a council on the 31st of May, as well as some of the changes that Ms. Walter made after our discussion on the 31st. So those were changed, and then you could see the bottom line for each department. That's the final figure. It does not match the resolution that you got in your packet. Okay? So what you may have done, since you got the packet, is to check, cross-reference the previous discussions to ensure that everything is accounted for. The only thing that I found that I didn't see accounted for was we had a discussion with the fire department on the 31st of May with regard to a reduction of $1,000, and I didn't see that in the fire department budget. So that was the only discrepancy I found. Otherwise, everything looked outstanding. So does anybody have any questions or any continuing discussion? Obviously, we need to consider the motion, the item that we just took off the table. So if anybody wants to do that beyond what we've done, which is to budget that for 3/4 of the year rather than the entire year. And then there may be other items that you want to continue the discussion on. So, Assistant Mayor Dameron?
Yeah, just, can I make a suggestion? The budget public hearing and vote starts with Resolution 2019-1, tax anticipation note.
Mm-hmm.
So that as we're discussing things, can we move down through in the order that they're here? And maybe just dispense with and vote on the tax anticipation note public hearing before we launch into our discussion on the budget.
If you would like to do that and the council is in agreement, that's fine. Okay? Is that okay with the council? Okay? So you just want to handle the tax anticipation note right now?
Yeah, just clear it away.
Okay, so that's page 130 in your packet. It's Resolution 2019-1.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Resolution 2019-1, tax anticipation note, be resolved by the Council of the City of Claremont, New Hampshire, after public hearing duly noticed pursuant to Municipal Finance Act, that the city treasurer, with approval of the city manager, is hereby authorized to issue and sell notes of the City of Claremont in the amount not to exceed $1 million in anticipation of receipt of taxes for fiscal year 2019. Such amount will not exceed the total tax levy for the year 2018. Majority vote required.
Okay. Is there a second? All right, so that motion was made by Councilor Kolowski, seconded by Assistant Mayor Dameron. Is there any discussion before I open it up for a public hearing? Yes.
Just one question for the finance director. with quarterly billing of taxes and so forth. When have we last done a tax anticipation note?
Maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
Because this is just here, just in case.
It's just an in-case thing. I don't intend on needing to use it, but you never know what might happen.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll open it up for a public hearing. Anybody would like to speak on the tax anticipation note? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that resolution passes. Now we'll go back to the budget discussion. So anybody have, if you could give us an overview, Ms. Walter, about where we're at as far as the increase on the tax rate with all of the changes.
Yep, with all of the changes, the original city manager's proposal was 1566, and with the changes to council and the ones that I had recommended, you haven't TA'd or anything, it's 1519. That is 35 cents over the current tax rate, 2.36% change in the tax rate. The daily impact on the average home at 117,000 is 11 cents a day,
And how much a year?
$40.96.
$40 and what?
96 cents.
Thank you.
Okay. So, having heard that, that's where we're at now. You did see Ms. Walter's recommendations based on our discussion on 531, so does anybody have any comments to that, or any modifications they want to see to that? If you're good with it, then we're good with those changes. Assistant Mayor Damon?
Yeah, was the city manager going to make a proposal perhaps regarding the airport budget?
If the council, if it pleases the council, I recommend that you reduce the airport budget by $12,500. We will approach the airport maintenance issues in a different way.
Response from the council?
I'll make that motion to reduce the airport budget by $12,500.
Okay, and that motion was made by Assistant Mayor Dameron, seconded by Councilor Ahern. Okay?
All right, reduce the airport budget 12,500,
Correct.
Yes.
and it was seconded by,
Councilor Ahern.
thank you.
Did I accidentally say fire department budget? I meant to say airport budget.
No, you said airport.
You said airport.
Did I say airport? I said
You said airport. I thought I said fire department.
Okay. If we go back, okay?
We're going to
Councilor
vote on the
Kowalski?
motion.
Oh, I didn't finish. I'm sorry. All those in favor
We
say
have
aye.
discussion?
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be in favor of this after touring the airport, talking to an advisory board member, and knowing a lot of detail that's going on up there. And I find it, again, I'll go back to the whole, just because we've always done it this way, doesn't mean it's the correct thing to do. I think it's ridiculous that the fire chief is responsible for going up there once a week, testing fuel levels. I think it's ridiculous that the fire chief this past week, when you get a phone call that's time to replace the blades on the mower, that the fire chief has to go up and put a suit on and crawl underneath there and change mower blades. When the airport needs small engine fuel, the fire chief has to stop what he's doing and go up and supply fuel. In the absence of the fire chief, someone from the fire department would go do that. I think that by removing the 12,500, we stay status quo. I'm not looking to grow the airport at a rapid pace, but I think you're gonna get what you've always got. There's an individual that was interested in stepping up and taking over the same stuff that he frankly was up there doing all of the time outside of his normal job duties, volunteering, maintaining, repairing, climbing poles, changing the lights. Right now, there are airport runway lights out. the fire chief will have to stop what he's doing to go chase that issue. And I just don't think, I think it's like everything else we do, if we don't invest a little money into it. I look at this like I do the bus. And I was very clear with that agency, just because we were funding it to help it along now, doesn't mean I would always be committed to doing that. But I think for 12,500, taking that out, you're really reducing opportunity at the airport. And that's after taking a very detailed tour through every building and then learning what the actual responsibilities are. And then I have done a lot of research online. I was looking at Keene, I was looking at neighboring towns, I was reading minutes from FAA on what you actually should be doing and what we are doing. And I think for the small amount of 12,500, it's ridiculous just to continue the path we're on.
Comments? Counselor Zula?
I also spoke with a couple members of the Airport Advisory Board, and contrary to what Nick is saying, I agree there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but I believe it could be funded other ways other than what on the tax rate. I think the Airport Advisory Board should look over the fees that we're charging for hangars. Our price on gas, we're the cheapest around. We could go up on those prices and generate the revenue to establish this position without putting it on the tax rate.
Okay. Counselor Stone?
Yesterday, I took a tour with Chief Burr up at at the airport, and it was a very comprehensive tour. I was probably up there for between an hour and a half, 2 hours. Very informative. I think there's a lot of things that the airport needs, and I think in the future, this is a position we can look at as we move on. But currently, there's a lot of things that need to be changed up there and kind of brought up to speed to where we are. There should be, a small supply of fuel for, diesel. We shouldn't, or not diesel, but regular gas for a lot of equipment. They shouldn't have to go out and, fill up tanks and bring it back. They've already got one fuel source there for the planes. There's not a reason why we can't have a smaller storage facility there to mitigate that. A lot of things that they're doing up there is pretty archaic. The structures are pretty archaic. I think it was 1926, 27, that the hangar they're looking at replacing is. We need to really look at a focus not only on the structure, but we also need to take a look at tracking how much is used. I took a look at the log there, and I don't know if you looked at the log, but we have a self-check-in log when the pilots come in. We don't really know how many people are in and out of that airport a day, a week, a month. We don't have any real good way of tracking that. I'd like to see that, some system get developed where we can actually track it to see how much use we're getting. And I think as we progress with the airport, we may need to find ourselves with a position that's funded later on. But I think this year, I really can't justify putting it on the tax rate. And with the city manager making his motion, I would be in agreement with that.
Okay. So,
Is that a follow-up question?
sure, let everybody have a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Counselor Pope?
I didn't see the hand.
Just like some data for next year on what the fire chief does and how many times it has to happen. Maybe a job log sort of a thing.
So I sent you an email earlier today. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it, because I know a lot of you were working during the day. And I'm always a big proponent in making sure that the systems in place that we have as codified in our ordinances are followed. And I think there is a lot of changes that I do agree with you, Councilor Kolowski. Things can't continue to operate as they've been if we're going to grow the airport. But I do think that we need to refocus and utilize the advisory group the way it was intended. They should be making recommendations to both the city council and the city manager. We should be hearing from them what their thoughts are, and that's the process I would like to see followed. Because as much as it may become, as you said, it may come to the point where we do need some type of position like this, but we also need as much focus, I think, on, their recommendations with how do they see revenue streams being created? What are the fees that should be charged? There are so many things that we need to improve upon right now. And later on in the meeting, I'm going to ask if anybody is willing to serve on the advisory board as the city council appointee. So keep that in your thoughts. But I appreciate the city manager's motion, and Councilor
I just
Lassard?
have a quick question
Yes.
before we close this issue. How much does it really impact the tax rate? How much, I mean,
2 cents.
12,500 can't impact that
It'll
much.
save the homeowner of a $117,000 house $2 a year.
It lowers the tax rate from 1519 to 1517.
And that's fine, but I'm still a proponent of making sure that we follow our ordinances and we really leverage all of the volunteer time and effort that we have with all of these boards, commissions, and committees.
I'd like to serve on that if it comes time.
Okay.
So, thank you.
And if you consider what we've been able to do with the ad hoc committee for the train station, again, that was nothing on the tax rate, and we've increased the ridership significantly, and we're making headway. So, Councilor Kowalski.
I can agree with what you're saying as far as using what we have in the books, but I also think that itself needs to be looked at, because I find it very puzzling that the people that have hangars at the airport would be the people that are on the advisory committee. They're the ones that would also set their own lease rates and decide what other development can happen at the airport. That seems kind of odd to me. Why would you want more people coming into something that you're already using on your own? You may not want to see more people in and out of the airport. I have a different opinion, and I don't think that that's a proper structure. Maybe that's legal, maybe that's the way it was established, but it seems very odd to me. And I was told today by one of the advisory board members that his feeling was if this got passed back to them, that it would be little to no action because they don't really have much direction. And that it could be reflected in the minutes that they take. And that it's apparent more of a social club with no direction. And that's what I was told. So I have a problem where we would just say, you know, let's bounce it back to the people that are currently there. And I'm not faulting anything that goes on there. There are better ways, but I find that to be a very curious way that we solve our problems.
Well, you're making the assumption that we're not going to provide any direction. So I think between the city manager and the city council, we can give that direction. Again, I don't think much can be done at advisory board in a half-an-hour meeting on a quarterly basis. If we have expectations that we want to see happen at the airport, we need to identify those, both from the management perspective as well as a policy perspective. Now, so we have to improve our game too. It's not that we're just kicking the can down the road and giving it back to the advisory board. It has to change. Because if you look at the ordinance, they're supposed to be providing recommendations, and they haven't provided any recommendations with regard to this position or the budget. So we have to empower them and give them direction, give them what their tasks are, their mission, and move forward. As far as one thing you did say about fees, they could recommend fees, but the city council is the one that has the authority to set the fee schedule. So we can certainly look at all of these issues, because this ordinance hasn't been updated since, well, the most current part of it is in '91. So there's lots of room for improvement, but the city council's is ultimately responsible for this policy. So it may be one of those things that goes right back to policy committee to look at in the near future.
Can I make one final comment?
Yes.
So it took me attending a planning board meeting as a citizen to point out that we would be investing a lot of money in an airport addition for a proposed cafe, restaurant of sorts, that is actually 400 square feet. And I had to point out that it's not financially sustainable. So that project, without it being even talked about really anywhere, was pulled. But it took me, and I'm pointing this out because I'm the first guy to stand here on my own time and tell you it's a bad move and argue against something. I would love to see a cafe up there. I'd love to see a restaurant. But this is also something that really wasn't talked about much by the Airport Advisory Board.
Right.
If I hadn't attended that meeting, I fully suspect that we would be sitting here being asked to approve $100,000 in equipment to no tenant identified and building an addition of 400 square feet. That's less than where the chairs are, where the public is sitting. You don't make money in that space. So I'm telling you, like, I fight for every dollar in this city and saving tax dollars, but I really just think this is a bad move. It's gonna stay status quo. And I argued this time last year about legal counsel, but I'm just very passionate about this. So that was all. Thank you.
Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, so the motion was made, correct, Ms. Russell? Let's see.
Motion to reduce the airport budget of 12,500. That was made by Mr. Dameron and seconded by Mr. O'Hearn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
So there's one opposition and the rest in favor. Okay? So that will have to change that number. So what's the, Ms. Walters, so we can keep track of everything, what is the new number for the airport budget?
$1,012,954. $112,954. Sorry.
$1,012,954. Okay. Other items for discussion on the budget that you would like to discuss? Yes, Mr. Mayor Dameron?
Yeah, I think now that we've moved the item off the table for the administrative assistant here within City Hall, I think we owe it to ourselves and the public to be dealing with that particular question. I think that certainly was one of the more significant areas that took a lot of time last time around, resulting in it being tabled. So I'd like to be discussing that now.
Okay. Would you like to start off the discussion?
Sure. I think from my perspective, there was a compelling case made last time for the need for an individual like was discussed. And there was a draft position description as well as a number of requisite hiring credentials, different things that people here would be looking for. I think this office has worked for the last year without necessarily having an in-house legal counsel, and that's fine. I think people have made it work. But one thing I think that it's pointing out is that there is need for another pair of hands, another set of eyes, someone who is trained in that area, and there are different things that we need to keep in mind, but someone who can assist the finance director, the city manager, and other department heads in looking at different sections and the different tasks that people perform. Last time around, we talked about the fact that if indeed we approve this to be effective July 1st, that the odds of filling that position as of July 1st are slim to none. So from my perspective, it was at least a quarter of the way through the year, the fiscal year, before any person like what they were looking for could be found. So I was suggesting at the least that we take the number that was proposed by city administration and cut it back by 25 to 30%. I think the number we reduced it by was 20,700. And I'd still be in favor of that reduction this evening. I think it will be not a long search, but I think people are going to have to be creative about where the advertising takes place, where the position description is posted, and so forth, to find the exact type of person that you're looking for. I think that would be money well spent.
Okay, thoughts to what the assistant, yes, Counselor Keir.
I know we had talked about getting information about all the legal fees this past year versus what we paid in-person legal counsel as a part of this discussion, because clearly there is wanting for additional assistance in-house. And does this additional person plus what we're paying in legal fees equal more than what we'd pay to have a person in-house? And then is that a discussion we need to have? So I was hoping for that information.
I did give you that.
That's in the finance director's report, is that correct?
No, we printed it out. I printed this May 15th, so
Okay.
we have in-house, outside, what we spent in 16, 17, and
I'm sorry.
18 through the April bills we'd received.
You emailed on the 15th?
I printed it on the 15th, so.
Yeah, this, we discussed this publicly at the last budget hearing.
I don't remember if it's the last one or the one before that.
No, it was the very last one.
I thought we were still missing some information.
Counselor Stone asked for a job description, and that was forwarded since our last meeting.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, the short answer to your question is this position plus what our in-house solicitor made. No, we would not be exceeding that.
I'm talking about this position plus what we contract with our outside legal versus.
Correct, I still don't believe that
They
that would
don't?
exceed, right? No.
In 2017, we budgeted 221 and we spent 168, and that was with a full-time in-house attorney. In 2018, we budgeted 173 and we've spent 77. And we have not hired an in-house legal person this year.
Okay, and with that new position, that would break it under the 168.
Well, we budgeted for it for this year, we just haven't filled it, so it's not like additional money being raised on the tax rate. And for next year, we would be budgeting 178.
Other questions? Yes, Counselor Pope.
I'd ask the question, how much would it cost to have, say, the legal services subcontracted for a paralegal?
$84 an hour,
$85 now.
$85 an hour.
Sounds about right.
Counselor O'Hara?
My question is this going to be a paralegal?
No.
No, it can't be.
We can't call it a paralegal unless they work under an attorney.
But the job descriptions is asking for a paralegal certificate.
Yes.
If they have one, that would be
Right.
great.
Other questions? Counselor Zulo?
Just did some quick math. Would it be sufficient to, I mean, a normal work week's 2,080 hours. We could get 1,000 hours of paralegal for the same amount of money. Would it be
That's
more?
not necessarily what we're looking for. And we're not necessarily looking for a paralegal. We're looking for somebody that has those skills, but can also do other things, and a physical presence within the building. I mean, this is, it's,
So we need help in HR, we need help in
Right.
Dore's office, we need help in the assessing office. Anytime you guys, we have to do resolutions, all these things that need somebody that has more of a legal expertise than any of us, and not have to send it up for legal opinion to pay $100 and $200 an hour, or whatever.
I mean, for example, just since Alumni Week, we have somebody that came into town, was part of Alumni Week, but they live in Alaska. But they constantly need records from us because of, I guess, what they do. Either it's a hobby or it's their employment. They've been working with Dore and Norma Limoges up at the DPW to get this information. But it's a lot of information. It's actually very time intensive to facilitate this information, verify it, check it. You know, that took a lot of time from both Doré and Norma. That would have been a simple task for this person to do and free up Doré and Norma to do their normal stuff. But we're constantly getting things like that. The RSA 91A requests are more burdensome and more frequent. And it's not necessarily getting a legal opinion, it's just tracking down the data from our filing cabinets and electronic records. I mean, our record retention burden is very severe. But just because we retain all those records does not necessarily mean they're easy to find, especially stuff from many, many years ago.
Or it needs to be redacted.
Yeah. So it's not just getting a paralegal. This is more somebody that can pitch in and help shovel.
Realistically, do you feel that you're gonna fill this position? Just, I mean, with the job description?
Yeah.
Consider, okay. As I was just thinking along the lines of maybe getting somebody as far as a secretary or to pitch in and shovel and drop the salary and then use more of the paralegal aspect from the regular attorney.
I don't necessarily know what we would find for a lesser salary. I mean, we need somebody that doesn't need as much supervision. If it was as simple as just doing these tasks, we could get interns, but interns require a lot of supervision, and we can't necessarily verify their work product, so we end up having to check it, which ostensibly is doing it ourselves. It doesn't necessarily save us any more time to get interns and stuff. So it's not really something that you can necessarily cheap out. If you want to get a quality person, you have to have an attractive offer, especially in a labor market that is almost under 4%.
Right, no, I agree with you on that. I'm just.
I mean, do
throwing
I think
things out there.
last year we would have had an easier chance, even or a year before last year, in filling the position because of the labor market? Yeah, it's a tighter labor market, but I still think we'll be able to fill this position.
Counselor Stone?
Who currently handles reviewing redacted documents prior to them being released to various parties?
Gardner, Fulton, and Waugh.
So it goes to legal either way?
Well, to be redacted, yeah,
Or
or
to
it's
be
something
redacted.
about redacting, yeah.
Right. Okay.
I had a question with regard to the minutes. I didn't bring it up during the minutes because that's a recording of what was said, not, and and the reason why I'm asking it is when we had the discussion on, I think it was 31st, Ms. Walter said 90,000 has been budgeted for salary and benefits. And right below that, proposed budget for 2018 is 99,000 for our legal counsel, and then plus the 70,000, and it had in parentheses, legal admin person for a total of 169,000. So my question is really, where's the difference? Because Ms. Walter said 90,000, and if I'm understanding the conversation correctly, you were saying 70,000.
It's 82,866 is the exact number. I think when somebody asked me, I didn't even have this open.
Yeah.
It was like around 90,000. But the actual amount is that, and if you take 72% of it is how I came up with the 2716, rounded to 2720.
So what was, so if it's 20, so it's 62 something, right?
62,150 rounded is 3/4 of the year.
Okay. So the total for 2000 and for FY19 would be 99 plus 62,154, which would be equal to, if not slightly less than what was.
I only subtracted the 20,700 from what was budgeted. which is 1/4 of the year.
So thanks for that clarification. Appreciate it. Anything else? Anybody want to make a motion? Oh, Counselor Ahern had one more question.
Well, I guess I got one or two more questions. So the job description that was sent to us, is that currently a job description on the books, or is that just a proposed job description that was put together?
That's a draft.
Okay, so it doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
Okay. And you say the law office does the redactions now for paperwork. Was the question asked to them that if we were to get this person, would this person with his job description be able to redact? Or do we still have to send it to our attorney?
That question was not asked.
Anything else? So is there a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I keep hearing you do these motions, but are you gonna do the motions on the electricity, or I don't know the exact purpose, because like I decreased a whole bunch of the telephone lines. I added money in that airport line, and I didn't get individual motions on that, which I don't need. I only need the bottom line.
No, I'm just doing this,
Okay.
the items that were controversial,
Okay.
and then we'll deal with that. So does somebody want to make a motion with regard to this position? Counselor O'Hearn.
Because I still have questions about it, I'm going to make a motion to cut the position currently.
Well, do you want to have your questions answered first?
The question is that even if we allow this office assistant, we still may incur fees by the attorney by being redacted, because I'm not confident that, if we don't even get somebody that's a paralegal, it's just going to be an office assistant. So are they going to be capable to do redactions? Are we still going to be sending it to legal? And if we don't send it to legal, are we going to be sued if the person does it improperly? I just think we're going to maybe potentially spend more money than just the position. And one other thought is maybe we should just have part-time. If these offices need help, then maybe 3 part-timers instead of paying 1 full-timer.
Counselor Lassard?
Counselor Inzullo, it is almost like 2 positions. An executive secretary could do the kind of job that's being described with a lot of experience without the legal thing, but you still need the legal whatever. So it's going to be hard to find one super executive secretary and being illegal on the same side. I just can't see that. So it's like 2 positions. And paralegal, there's something missing there. You need the whole lawyer thing, to me. It's a lot of money, but that's my feeling.
Counselor Kier?
Well, excuse me, was there a motion made? Or was there a suggestion of a motion made?
There was a suggestion, and then we started, but I interrupted Counselor O'Hearn because he said he had questions. He was going to make a motion in the negative because he had questions, so I wanted to ensure that he had the opportunity to have his questions answered.
Okay.
Counselor Kier?
I agree that there are still questions. I know that we've clearly identified that the funds pre and post legal in person and not are basically a wash, but I still don't feel like we've addressed the satisfaction of quality and ease of use factor of it. So yeah, maybe they're costing about the same, but do we feel like we're getting the same quality? Not for lack of effort. I don't mean it like that, but I know we've brought up the ease and council or other boards on the zoning board, having someone here every time to talk to and ask questions to was super helpful. We don't have that now. We don't always know we're going to have questions because we'd have to set up a meeting ahead of time, and you don't know until you're in the middle of an application. And I'm sure there's other areas in which that is applicable as well. But I think that we haven't really discussed, is it working to the best of its ability and the most efficiently the way it is, even if it is a wash money-wise?
And I keep running into situations in which it has been very difficult to navigate the lack of legal counsel on site.
And I would just hate for us to approve a position, hire someone, and then maybe still find out that it's not to the level we want it to. And then are we stuck in a position where we'd have to get rid of this position, and we would never want to do that? I just think this is the time to have that conversation before we commit to. I know we've had this position before and it hasn't been filled. I'm aware of that. But if we're talking about it now, this is what we should be talking about.
Assistant Mayor Dameron?
Yeah, I'm finding myself, I guess, having some difficulty following the thread of the conversation. We aren't talking about a paralegal. We aren't talking about an attorney. We're talking about an office assistant who is able to bounce from place to place to fill in positions as they're needed. And if that person has a paralegal certificate, fantastic. But if they don't, they still may rise to the top and they still may be added. I think for us, in terms of planning board or zoning board or so on, we've talked about it before, that we ought to have the ability, and do, if we arrange through the city manager or directly through the mayor, to have an attorney on site if a meeting is proposed or it is anticipated to have a particular thorny subject to be discussed. We could have an attorney on site to assist with those discussions. So that's available. I don't think we're talking about using this position for that. That would be entirely different. When Attorney Taylor was here, we were still hiring outside legal firms to be doing different tasks depending on the area of the law that they were dealing with. So I think we need to get away from looking at this as a paralegal or an attorney and look at it more the way it was described as an office assistant and have the discussion focus there.
I think the confusion, as a comment to what you just said, is that it's been described as both. Both that
It says it in the description.
If it can be found. But I also heard Mr. McNutt say, you know, something that would be great if it was there, but it may not be there.
Mr. McNutt?
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize that, I mean, this is a position for the administration. It's not a position for the council. It's not a position for boards and commissions. This is a request from the people that I work with to get more help. In about 2001, I don't know when it was, there was like over 2 dozen layoffs in the city. I mean, that was probably necessary. I'm not disputing the necessity of it, but it came with some opportunity costs that we're starting to feel about 20 years later. That we have a lot of folks that are just almost one-person departments, and it's becoming a bottleneck. This is a position to help the administration.
Councilor Keir?
I think it's being misunderstood that when this was initially brought up, it was talked about as assistance for admin. And I think maybe either I misunderstood or it was communicated maybe incorrectly that was a direct cause of losing in-house legal assistants to do these jobs that are now falling to people who don't have the expertise in that area, so it's taking them longer, it's less efficient. And I think that's absolutely makes sense. But that makes me think about the broader base of this, the foundation of this. I'm not saying that this person's a lawyer. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying if that is the cause of needing this position, then we need to look at, does our foundation work the way it is? Do we need this position? Or do we need to look at saying, you know, is contracting this role really what we need to be doing? Or do we need to have in-house legal help? If contracting is what we go with, then I think this position makes sense. But if it's not, I think we just have to have that discussion. We can't just say, great, if you bring this to me saying, we really just need admin help, and it's not a direct correlation to this, that's different, and I can look at that differently. But the reason I'm dragging all of this up is because I feel that it is all interlocked and connected. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I get where you're coming from.
Can I weigh in?
Oh yeah, go ahead, sorry.
From historical aspects of trying to get in-house legal, it was a nightmare and took us probably 4 years to find somebody to do in-house legal. The money that you're willing to pay is a maximum of $92,000 a year. You're not gonna get somebody that makes $200 a year at a law firm coming here to make $44 an hour versus the $200 an hour. This was a trial for us. We kept that position. We did not fill that position last year because we weren't really sure how much we were going to need with outside legal. So I think all of us that have been trying to fill in on drafting or reading leases or trying to interpret things that, you know, it's not really our expertise, where it does take us a lot longer, and we're constantly worried about, are we putting the city at risk somehow? But on the other hand, of how much you're going to spend to do that, if you could find somebody with enough legal background, you know, having worked in a law office, that kind of thing. They don't have to be a paralegal, but if they had that legal certificate, that kind of experience would be helpful to us. You need it in assessing when you're doing the leases. You need it in Dore's office when you're doing right to know. You know, legal when we're doing contracts and stuff. Somebody that has a good idea to say, this needs to be bounced up to, you know, and for us, we're guessing. Does it need to go to outside counsel, or, you know, can I use what we used before as a template and get by with that? Constantly with Ryan, I'm saying, I think this needs to go up, or, you know, and it's, you need somebody with more experience than us. I'm blessed that I've been here for so long, but, you know, and I've worked with Jane for a long time, but, you know, I think that we were lucky to find Jane, and we might be lucky again, but when we were trying to fill that before, we had a hard time finding anybody that wanted to come and work for the kind of money that you pay when you're paying municipalities. Mr. Mayor.
And conversely, so to show the versatile nature of this position, you know, as we have a contracted firm go out and do our revaluations, it would be great to have a staff member accompany them. And we now have an assessing technician. So if she's going to be out in the field, it would be great to have this person be able to be in the office, to keep that office door open. So that's, you know, and that's nothing related to reviewing legal documents or, you know, saying what needs to go to Gardner, Fulton, and Waugh or not. That's keeping the assessor's office running while we get more, you know, out of the field work.
Councilor Pope?
So I was looking through this and actually remembered a few conversations with Jane Taylor as she was starting to get ready to leave. She used to have to do a lot of this stuff on her own, and it was basic work that took away from the research that she should have been doing on several of the legal issues in the city. So I was actually against this at first, and then I started thinking about this more, and part of that was because of the layoffs that we had several years ago. I do remember that there were several more people in here. Yep. So I do have that history there. Basically, this person, as mentioned, tracking down RSA 91A requests. We'll be dealing with getting legal packets together to send up, which is some of that work that unfortunately we're probably spending $200 an hour sometimes to double check on. But, you know, be that as it is, prepping the document, legal packets. This is all from the job description, by the way. I started thinking about the reassessment that's going to be occurring, and of course, all the abatements that are going to occur after that, which is a natural occurrence after full reassessment. If anybody's been through one of those before, we get several hundred requests. I can see where this person's going to save some time, money, effort on staff. I can see where they're also going to be getting information and just doing general work. But I do remember back to those days when we did have to cut that, and do remember the employees having to pick up a lot of the excess slack and a lot of things that did fall through the cracks before we got Jane, just so you know. So I do have that history. So I was against it beforehand, but I am for this now. Just my reasons.
Okay, so I just have a comment.
There's 9 of us.
I think when you hear a group of people from different perspectives say that they need a resource that they currently don't have, we need to pay particular attention. I just think where we could have done a little bit better on this issue is clarity on, I think you're really looking for a legal assistant who could probably backfill some administrative functions, but the way it was presented and what we keep going back to, if it's a lack of resource, currently you have a lack of a resource with regard to legal items or legal associated items, is what I keep hearing. And if that's the case, then let's just call it what it is and give you that resource that you don't currently have on site. If you want to use that legal assistant to where there's time to assist other people in administrative functions, well, that's up to you. But I think the city council needs to be clear if they're going to authorize a budget item, what this position is. And I was confused when I read the job description because it says in the title of it's an office assistant, but that's not the way it was described to us as what you really needed. You're talking about a lack of legal assistance on site. So I think that's where we kind of got confused. Mr. McNutt and then Councilor Kolowski.
I mean, another good example is Doré had an injury and was out for a period of time last year, and we had to find a replacement. And we advertised, and the lady did a good job. I'm not discounting the job that the temporary person did, but they were unfamiliar. So there was some runway period where they had to be brought up to speed on some things. Whereas if we had this position, that's an easy plug and play. Doré or some other person gets injured, we have a fill-in until that person can come back.
But again, we're not, that's, I'm still not sure what what you need. Is that you're asking the city council to approve a line item or a position, and we need clarity on what this position is. Is it legal assistance, or is an addition that can be used when you have somebody out that's sick? I don't know, you're telling, I mean, I'm not, anybody else,
You
step
got a
up.
lot of the feedback the last time from me giving you examples of what I was feeling, and I was speaking on behalf of Doré, and she didn't chime in, but I think we had the position budgeted last year as a legal assistant. We did not hire it because we didn't know we were gonna be need it for legal. However, upon looking at all the other areas that Ryan was feeling from other people in HR and in assessing and in other areas, they were all feeling what me being so outspoken he would know about, that they were all also feeling this pinch of, I could use some assistance here. I have these instances where here, and Doré, the example of her being out, but there are a whole bunch of instances like that we realized we need more than just a legal assistant. We need somebody with that type of a level of skill set that you aren't going to get with just a regular secretary. So we need somebody with a higher level of skill set that can hit the ground running and be able to walk into an HR area and know the kind of things that are going to get you into legal trouble if you don't do them right. You know, that can go into the executive assistant's office and know the confidentiality and the stuff that needs to be done with a right to know. So there's a different level of skill set than just an assistant.
But
You need somebody a little, and I think that was why it got expanded this year to say, let's try to make that position more of a floater position. And you can't really call it a floater. So that was where we got into that, where it's a blend in that job description of what kind of things we're looking for that person to do.
But the job title should reflect your highest level of expertise needed for the position. And that's administrative decision. If you want to use your legal assistant to backfill as necessary, that's fine. But we've got to be clear what we're giving this money for, that's all. Counselor Kolowski.
I don't have the same level of confusion because in bold it says legal assistant essential job function. So I'm assuming it was a legal assistant, and I understand from just reading what you're looking for that they also would be shared in other departments. So I don't have that same level of confusion. I do know that when Jane Taylor was here, we did bring back an assistant to try to help clear off her desk. I think that position also jumped across the hall to help out on occasion. I was all for having in-house legal counsel and not going outside, but then I looked at what municipalities pay for in-house legal counsel, and
Can't do it.
that ship has sailed. You'll, in my opinion, you'll never attract somebody to come in and be a city solicitor for what we're offering, and we can't afford to offer more.
And when the MRI did the search for us for city manager, they said, I am surprised that you have attorney on staff. It's not the norm anymore to have a city solicitor on staff.
And I just had an odd question, and this is, so I assume the job description doesn't have to go out for legal review. And I only ask that because any reference to a paralegal, even though we can't legally use a paralegal, is questionable to me. That's like me advertising advanced EMTs wanted, but I am not actually a licensed provider, so I can't use those services. I understand they may or may not have those, but I'm curious fishing with the word paralegal. But
Other comments?
My only feeling is 2 positions, and if you want quality, you're going to have to pay for it. We can't do it. I don't know how the heck you're going to solve this problem. It's asking a lot for both positions, but you need 2 positions. There's just no way that you can do it without 2.
Counselor Ahern?
I'm going back to there is, I think, confusion. I'm still not satisfied with the answers. And you're asking on this draft the person to do a lot of things and to work in a lot of different offices. So they would have to be familiar with all those different offices. And I don't even know if, the level of grade of $38,000 would be even enough to entice somebody. It's going to be doing, working possibly in assessing, possibly in HR, possibly down in the finance office, or in the city manager's office. I mean, there's a lot of different jobs. I go back to the things that maybe they need, help, but maybe we should be looking at part-time and getting people in those offices to help them with the load. But
So our job is to approve the budget, so Counselor Zullo?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we just need to approve the bottom line amount, and Mr. McNutt can hire whoever he chooses, whether it be a legal person, secretary, a janitor. It doesn't matter. We can give him our input, but it's his job to hire the correct people to do the job, to make the city hall function properly. Am I correct on that?
Mm-hmm.
So whether the job description is a paralegal, a lawyer, it doesn't matter once we approve the bottom line. So I think we're getting stuck on what the job description is, and it really, that isn't up to us, is it?
Well, you have to have the understanding why you're approving the amount that you're approving.
Okay.
I think the council's just looking at if the statement's going to be made from administration that we need to add whatever the amount is to this department to achieve these objectives, then there's where you need the clarity.
Okay.
But it is true, we're approving the bottom line.
Okay.
Counselor Kolowski.
I just wanted to say, and this is no offense to anyone that works in City Hall, but throughout my 8 years as a counselor, a common thing that I would hear, and it just takes so long to pry stuff out of the hands of City Hall. And that is because you're doing a lot of work with
Few hands.
not a lot of people. I understand that. I think a lot of departments from layoff days to now are doing that. Do you really think that this would help expedite things? I think we're missing things out there in the public, and you really think that this would help streamline operations?
I think I would not have put this in the budget and made this request if I didn't want it and think it would be an improvement to this administration. I can't sit here and tell you what this person's gonna do every second of the day. I can tell you I'm happy with the job description, and I do feel it's a necessary position.
I think we've discussed this enough. I'd like to move the question.
Do you need
We
a
have to
second?
have- Yeah.
Second.
So the,
Who was the second?
Counselor Kolowski. The first was Counselor Pope. So, all those in favor say aye?
Don't you have to do
We have to do a roll call.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, roll call, please.
Counselor Lassard?
Yes.
Counselor Ahern?
Yes.
Counselor Stone?
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Dameron?
Yes.
Counselor Zulo?
Yes.
Counselor Kier?
No.
I'm sorry, was that a no?
Yes.
That is correct, that is a
That
no.
is correct.
Counselor Kolowski?
Yes.
Counselor Pope?
Yes.
Mayor Lovett?
Yes. So, the motion passed. Now, does anybody?
I thought your motion was just to move the question.
Right.
That's correct.
I was going to say the next thing, which is,
What's the question?
is somebody wanting to make a motion with regard to
Make a
this?
motion. I'd like to
Counselor
move that
Pope.
we accept this position at the rate that was put in the budget, the $20,000 reduction due to the prorated salary this year.
Okay, wait a minute, you're putting a lot of words in there.
Yeah, I'm just, some people have to help me on this, but the
As
20,700.
amended.
20,700 as amended.
Okay, so the motion is to accept this position as proposed in city manager's budget with 20,700 reduction.
Was that the reduction, or was it $20,000 reduction down to 27,000?
No. It's a reduction of 20,700.
Okay, 20,700.
With, okay, so motion to accept this position as proposed in the city manager's budget with $20,700 reduction.
Yeah,
Is that it, or do we need to?
budgetarily proposed, that might be a better way. of
I'm
putting it.
sorry?
Budgetarily proposed.
Just, the motion is to accept the city manager's proposal on this position with a reduction of $20,700.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Can I make a comment first?
All right, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm not clear on that motion. Say that again, Mayor.
The motion is to accept the city manager's proposal for this position
City manager's proposal for this position,
with a reduction of $20,700.
with a reduction of 20,700. Period.
Is there a second? Then we'll have a comment.
Second.
Okay, so the second was by Assistant Mayor Dameron. Counselor O'Hearn.
My comment is that I was in the midst of making a motion, and I was interrupted by the mayor, and I guess I allowed the discussion to continue, but I should have the honor of finishing my motion.
It was not meant to be an offensive
I, no, but you understand that I was in the midst of.
Would you
making a
like to
motion.
retract your motion?
I retract it, but the question's still moved.
Yep,
No.
okay. So, Counselor O'Hearn, would you like to make your
I
motion?
would like to make a motion to eliminate that,
Okay, wait a minute, hang on a second, we're,
let's see, amount 8.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So, Mr. Pope
I
withdrew his
retracted it,
motion.
yes, but the question's still moved, so there should be no discussion.
And, Mr. Dameron, you withdrew your second.
I'll remove it.
Let's see, amount on that.
Okay, got that part.
88.
So now, Mr. O'Hearn?
I'm making a motion to eliminate that line item from the budget.
Is there a second? Okay, so that has been made by Counselor O'Hearn, seconded by Counselor Kier. To be clear, we probably should have a roll call.
Okay, this is to remove the legal position.
Yes.
Counselor Assard?
No.
Counselor O'Hearn?
Yes.
Counselor Stone?
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Dameron?
No.
Counselor Zulo?
Yes.
Counselor Kier?
Yes.
Counselor Klasky?
No.
Counselor Pope?
No.
Mayor Lovett?
No.
I can remake my motion as previously written.
Okay, so, Mr. Pope's motion to accept the city manager proposal for this position with a reduction of 20,700, and is there a second?
Second?
We're gonna do this as a roll?
Yeah, well, let me ask Counselor Pope, would you be receptive to amending your motion to specify that's a legal assistant?
I'd be receptive to that, but I don't know if that ties the position down to something that, you know, it's hard to discuss. I don't know if we can discuss under the question moved. So,
Well, the line item says legal assistant, doesn't it? Or what does it say?
It's just in the salaries.
It's under salaries? Well, it's up to you.
yes.
Okay, how would you like your motion amended?
The position title of legal assistant, just add that in there. You could read that motion, please.
Okay, the motion is to amend the previous motion, and, let's see, call it legal assistant. Call the position, call,
Position of legal assistant.
call the
Motion was made a
position.
while ago, so I don't remember the exact word.
Well, the motion was to accept the city manager's proposal for this position with a reduction of 20,700. This current motion is to amend the previous motion and call the position a legal assistant. Yes, no?
Position title that we were given is office assistant, so either way, legal assistant, office assistant, yeah, legal assistant. We'll stick with that. It's on the job description.
Okay, so to
Yes.
amend,
It's on the job description, legal assistant, yes,
amend the previous motion and call the position a legal assistant.
yes.
Okay. And Mr. Dameron, do you want a second?
No.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do you want to do a roll on the amending?
Yes. So this roll call is for the amendment.
To amend the previous motion and
Yeah.
call the position a legal assistant.
Okay?
Counselor Assard.
Yes.
Counselor Ahern.
Yes.
Counselor Stone.
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Dameron.
No.
Counselor Zulo.
Yes.
Counselor Kier.
No.
Counselor Kolowski.
No.
Counselor Pope.
Yes.
Mayor Levitt.
Yes. And we'll need the roll call for the motion.
Hold on.
What was the outcome?
It was 6-3. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. I focus on my vote. I don't count everybody else.
Okay.
Just pay attention.
The motion as it reads now is to accept this city manager proposal for this position with a reduction of $20,700 and to call it a legal assistant. Yes, no? Mr. Pope?
Yes.
Okay. And how does that work? Because Mr. Dameron made the motion, seconded the motion, but he did not second the amendment. So does that mean Mr. Dameron is still the second on this amended motion?
That's a good question.
Let me check with legal
You're
counsel.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say yes, I'm still a second. It's going
Okay.
to go through.
All right. So are we doing this as a roll as well?
Yes.
Counselor Lassard?
I'm totally confused. I'm abstaining from the vote.
I'll read the motion again. The motion is, was made by Mr. Pope to accept the city manager's proposal for this position with a reduction of $20,700 and to call it a legal assistant. And it was seconded by Mr. Dameron. Does that clear it up for you?
Okay, I'll vote yes.
Counselor Ahern?
Yes.
Counselor Stone?
No.
Assistant Mayor Dameron?
Yes.
Counselor Zulo?
No.
Counselor Kier?
No.
Counselor Kolowski?
Yes.
Counselor Pope?
Yes.
Mayor Lovett?
Yes.
Again, 6-3, it carries.
So you can count.
Do you want that department budget number?
I think, yeah, you might as well say that, Ms. Walter. I think the assistant mayor and I have it.
525.
I'm sorry, say that again, Mary.
593, 525.
And that's for policy?
Yep.
Okay, so Ms. Walter had said earlier that she had reduced based on our, oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Kier.
Oh, I just had the next thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I did want to say thank you for looking into the telephone, since that was one of the things we brought up. There were two other things that I had listed that I had asked about, that I wanted to see if there was any feedback on. One was for the fire department, looking into the flexibility on their training line. Since the previous year, we allotted $8,445, and In May, we'd only used $4,342, and yet we're proposing $9,000 again this year. And I know we talked about knowing to some extent when certain people will be up for new trainings and seeing if there's any flexibility there.
Yeah, I didn't get honestly clear feedback on that. It's very difficult to answer that. I don't think the fire chief was able to answer that as easily either. It's not.
So he doesn't know when his personnel need to go to training?
No, they have the right to go to become from level 1 to level 2 to all the way to
Right.
paramedic if they want to. It becomes a question of how many classes they're offered and how many openings there are in the classes as to whether the guys get to go or not.
Right.
So,
And if somebody like puts in their paperwork to go,
Okay, so they don't have like kind of a general discussion of who's looking to do what during the year? Is I guess what my question was. I know when I do my budget for my department where I work, I have to say, over the next year, I'm planning to send this many people to this many trainings. So I'm just wondering if they do something similar, that's all. I'm guessing the answer is no.
I will have to ask that again.
Okay. And then the second thing was, just because Chief Chase wasn't here to ask, but you are here now, we were a little, or I was confused, because I don't know, the intricacies of your budget, what the special events line item was, and if there was any flexibility there, because again, the proposed budget versus the used budget was a little lower, so the question was there flexibility there or not?
It's all speculative.
So the special line items, years ago, they came up with, instead of the community events like the Alumni Day Parade and the different things, we pay, instead of that coming out of the overtime line item, we figured out how many hours that is a year for the Fireman's Parade and the various different things, 4th of July, and came up with that number. And that's what that line item is for. It's paid out at the detail rate, so all the officers are making the same amount, not the sergeant is making more than the patrolman that might be at a harder spot, but that's what that is. And in their second question, whether there's flexibility or not, it comes down to if I don't cover in that, I have the Fireman's Parade where it requires 6 officers to effectively and safely shut down the street. I've got to pay them through the overtime,
And that
which
makes
is
sense.
overexpended this year.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think we got the used so far in
Yeah.
May, and there were some clearly big events we have after
Yeah, and
this.
it was used up this week, well, last week with the Alumni Parade.
Thank you, I appreciate you answering my question.
And the other one was the civil defense one, and that one we couldn't cut.
Okay.
Right, it actually is paid out.
Have you had your questions answered? I'm
Yep.
sorry. Any other questions? If we go back to the discussion on 531, I'm sorry, Councilor Costa, did you have a question?
They just mentioned we couldn't cut the civil defense. I was just gonna ask what it was, like we found out.
It gets, I think, tied into the incident commander stipend.
Okay. So on what?
Counselor Stone has his hand up.
Oh, Councilor
Sorry.
Stone.
Question on the call fireman pay. Looking at the actuals on call fireman pay, we've allotted 16,000. Currently, is that still on the books at 16? For 2019?
That's what he requested.
And the actuals for the last 3 years, 14 to 15, we're around 15. 15 to 16, we're at just around 12. Is there any movement in taking a couple thousand from that line item?
That's what he requested, so that would have been a question when he was here. I do not know.
'Cause I know he's also mentioned there's been, lower turnout.
We do have lower turnout, and it's not that he would like to have lower turnout, but,
Right, he explained to
if
me
he
the
could get more
circumstances.
people to be on the call fire department, that would be great. So maybe the public call is we need volunteers for call firemen.
So you wanting to make a motion to amend, to change that, Councilor Stone?
Thoughts?
This is one of those ones in that situation. I used to ask Jane Taylor. I'm a call fireman. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to sit here and discuss changing even though it's a mythical amount of money that nobody seems to know what it is, and that's not the reason anyone does it. I don't have much. The only thing I can tell you is it's one of those things that it's like welfare. I guess if a bad fire happens and you have to call firefighters, they'll be coming back to ask you for funds, I guess. But it's one of those things that you don't know when a fire's going to happen or what the turnout's going to be. So.
So if we use the methodology we've been using, we've been looking at the last 3 years of actuals, and what's the highest amount that was used?
15,316.
And their budget is 16,000?
So I'd like to make a motion to cut 2,000.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'm sorry, can you tell me those numbers again? Just want to make sure I heard it right.
The numbers were 15,3 on the actual for 2014 and 2015. You got 11,9 for 2015 to 2016, 11,6 for 2017. And so far, from what we've heard from the fire chief, he's had pretty low turnout this year.
And what's budgeted this year? Sorry, I'm not-
16.
16, okay.
I'll second that motion.
Can I get the specific line you're talking about?
Yeah, it'll be 01-422-109-0000.
Okay, and that motion, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Counselor Zullo.
So your motion is to cut $2,000 from that line item. What is the name of it?
Call fireman pay.
Thank you.
Counselor Kowalski?
I think it'd be appropriate for me to ask to be excused from this vote.
Okay. Assistant Mayor Dameron?
Yeah, I'm going to vote no on that motion. I think we're here on an evening where we're working to approve an overall budget without a fire chief here to answer any questions that we might have regarding appropriateness or so on. I just think we're at the 11th hour, and the $2,000 reduction, I don't know if it's warranted or not, simply because I don't have the authority here to be asking.
Any other comments? We do have a motion on the table, so all those in favor say aye.
Can we do a roll call?
You want to do a roll call? I guess while we're waiting for the roll call, my only response to that, and I don't want to be disagreeable, it's just this was slated as the final discussion in our budgetary process before we had final figures to go for the public hearing. And although we did not specifically direct the city manager to have the directors here, there could have been questions that need to be answered. So, I mean, that was the whole purpose for starting an hour early, I think, from last month. Last time we met was to finalize the discussion.
Mayor,
Yes.
just something else to keep in mind is that the fire chief, we have laid off and did not hire 3 safer people and had a couple retirements. So, you know, I know we're working more with less over there, and, you know, maybe we have been down with call firefighters and stuff, but I would caution just, you know, for $2,000, just be wary of that, because we are short people over there.
Okay.
Ready for a vote?
Yep, we're ready.
And this is to reduce $2,000 from the call fireman pay. Counselor Lassard?
No.
Counselor O'Hearn?
Yes.
Counselor Stone?
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Dameron?
No.
Counselor Zullo?
Yes.
Counselor Kier?
Yes.
Counselor Pope?
No.
Mayor Lovett?
No.
That gives us a 4-4.
Motion Motion fails on a
Mhm.
Yep. So, but it does bring me back to, since we're on the fire department, we did have the discussion on 531. I can't recall if the fire chief was here or not, but it's in the minutes. There was a discussion about street lighting, traffic signals, and I'm reading from the minutes right now, and Mayor Lovett suggested reducing that amount by 1,000. So the minutes do not reflect what the outcome of that suggestion was, and I don't recall.
My notes that I sent back to you guys said no cut. We still have 2 months of bills that we haven't received yet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, please return. We missed you so much. And for the record, when we move forward in the next budgetary cycle, every time we have a budget discussion, we need to have the directors here, because this is exactly what can happen. And it's on us for not making sure that that was communicated to you. So. Is that okay with the council?
Yeah.
Anything else? Are we ready to go down to the final numbers before we open this up for a budget hearing? And that would be Resolution 2019-2. Now, we're going to have to amend these numbers. What you have in your packet is not up to date. And if you, before we go over that resolution, maybe it's a good idea to just make sure we have the same numbers that you do. And if that's okay, either the assistant mayor or I can go through the numbers. What would you prefer? I've got 'em.
Out there.
Okay, so
Up here.
are you ready? And we'll go through it.
I am. Are you
Okay.
going to start at 411?
I'm going to start with whatever's listed first under Resolution 2019-2.
Revenue or expenses?
I'm going to do expenses first.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So you already confirmed tonight that policy is 593-525.
Correct.
City administration is 889-672.
Correct.
Wait a minute, don't go so
Oh,
fast.
I'm sorry,
889 what?
672. And what I can do is I can just give this to you if everything's yes. That way you don't, if it's easier.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Elections and registrations, 14,325.
Yep,
Assessings, 495,313.
yep,
Municipal complex is 506,682.
yep,
Planning and development is 1,099,271.
correct.
General services is 1,244,654.
Correct.
Communications 911 is 523,537.
Correct.
Police department's $2,742,784. Fire department is $2,475,173.
Correct.
Welfare is $371,747.
Yep.
Sanitation is $177,409.
Yes.
Streets and roads are $2,699,408.
Yes.
Library is $403,083.
Yes.
Debt service is $1,170,069.
Yes.
Cemetery is $206,713.
Yes.
Airport is $112,954.
Yes.
Parks are $400,013.
Yes.
CS
513, is that what you said?
400,000.
513.
You had an add back of 500 here.
And I had the JSL building.
Okay.
Because we don't have enough in there to heat it.
Go through the whole, because I double checked these, so I don't know where I went wrong.
Yeah, in what you sent to us, Mary, starting with regular pay on down, I've got the following.
Yeah, there was a note in there saying about the JSL building that we we have been spending 10, 11, and 12,000, and we only appropriated 8.
Okay.
And that's coming from fund balance, the 8,000, because no one has still decided what we're doing with this building.
For-
So the 8,000 is coming from fund balance, but on the revenue side, I have that bumped up another 3,000 to take 11,000 out. Because it's not enough to cover the JSO.
Mhm.
We start off with taking out 5,000, then we put 500 back in.
And then I took 1,200 out for the telephone. So there's 4,500 out from part-time, 1,200 out from telephone, 3,000 added for JSL, 500 added for rail maintenance. So
Yep.
it's a net cut of 2,200.
20, net cut of what?
2,200.
Okay.
What you sent us has $400,013.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with a net cut of 2,700.
Your 402,713 is the original,
Yep,
and I cut 2,200.
2,700 according to this.
Do you have the 500 in there for the rail trail?
Yes?
Mhm.
3,000, 1,200, and then 4,500 for the part-time?
Part-time was 5,000.
So that should be 4,500.
Okay, that would be the missing 500
No,
then.
it was put down here. The 500 from the 5,000 was put down there, which it was. I mean, are you looking at the same document you sent us in our packet? I mean, we're using the figure you
Is
gave
it the
us.
5, did you cut 5,000 from there, or did you cut 4,500?
We cut 5,000, put 500 on the trails.
So it
So
should be
that's,
5,000. That would make that 400,013.
Yep, okay.
so it is 400, so Parks is $400,013. Recreation is $1,133,456.
Correct.
Now, I don't have the total.
You have the bus?
That's,
25,000.
but that's not on this,
Outside agencies?
that's not on this resolution. I'm just doing this resolution.
Then you need to amend and add 25,000 for the bus from social service agencies, because you temporarily approved that.
Yeah, and you've got it in your sheet. Here, it's just not on the draft resolution.
You can just make an amendment and add it. And that total comes to 17,284,788.
That's with a reduction of 12,005. Give me the total again, 17.
17,284,788.
That's all these figures we just read off, plus the 25,000.
Yes.
So the new expenditure total is 17,284,788.
Mhm.
Now I'll go through the revenue, ready? Taxes, 17,050.
Yep.
Interest,
Those numbers do not include the $290,000 ad.
I'm gonna add,
You're gonna add,
yeah, I'm
are
gonna
you
read,
gonna add it to the line items, or?
yeah, I just did it, I cross-referenced, same thing I'm doing here, I'm done here.
Okay.
Interest on taxes is 425,000.
Correct.
State of New Hampshire is 1,780,000.
I have 1,056,500.
You added 230,000.
No, that, you're down another section. State of New Hampshire government revenue.
Oh, I'm
total.
sorry, you're right. No. What page is that on, where this?
This is
oh,
120.
highway.
120 starts off with taxes revenue.
There you go. And that's the figure.
780.
So again, I've used your figures that you sent us.
So we have taxes revenue total is 17,050.
Okay,
Interest on taxes is 425,000. State of New Hampshire government revenue total is 1,056,500. Licenses, permits, and fees total is $2,138,920.
so that says,
Department revenue total is $1,085,098. Rent of city property total is $71,616.
I have a question. Can we take a quick break and just get a quick printout of the rundown of numbers? Because this isn't, everybody's taking separate notes and this is,
yep,
It's not computed.
it's not reflected in that. Yeah, could you, is that possible?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll take a quick break, and we'll get an updated printout of this resolution.
So we did the state of New Hampshire government revenue, which is
Okay.
105,600.
Right.
License and permits and fees total was where I added the 230,000. That's 2,138,920.
Yep.
And the next one is departmental revenue total, $1,085,098.
Mm-hmm.
Rent of city property is $71,616. Payments in lieu of taxes was $92,683.
Right.
Miscellaneous revenues, I added $10,000 to interest income for $82,220. From fund balance surplus, I added $3,000 for the JSL. That's $776,000. From fund balance, I decreased the $4,000, so that's $287,590. So the total from fund balance and retained earnings is $1,671,590 for a general fund total of $6,640,677.
Okay, the only reason I'm gonna go back to this is because I'm also trying to follow this resolution that we had,
Yep,
because we're gonna have to read that into the record.
yep.
And it says from fund balance, $1,064,590, but I think that figure comes from the $773,000 plus the $291,590.
Correct.
But if you reduce that number by 1,000,
Those two numbers are 106,590.
63590, so we're good there. And then, again, I'm reading off the resolution, that's 108,000, is that correct still?
Yes.
Yep. And then used to reduce the tax rate is 500,000,
Correct.
and then your total revenue would be,
6640677.
I'm sorry, 6640677, correct. Okay, does everybody understand that one? All right. So,
And you still need to do an amendment to add agency funds, 25,000. Underneath Parks and Rec.
right, but but with adding that, that brings the total of expenditures to $17,284,788. So outside agency, 25 million. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, 25,000. Okay. So, to make it easy on everybody, do you want me to just read this resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay. Resolution 2019-2, adopting the 2019 general fund budget for the city of Claremont. Whereas in accordance with the charter of the city of Claremont and the statutes of the state of New Hampshire, the city council is required to establish a budget for its appropriations and revenues for its municipal activities. And whereas in accordance with said charter, a public hearing was held on June 13th, 2018. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Claremont, New Hampshire, that it adopts the following for its proposed expenditures and revenues for all departments for its 2019 fiscal year as follows. 2019 General Fund Expenditure Summary, Policy Administration, Policy, $593,525. City Administration, $889,672. Elections and registrations, $14,325. Assessing, $495,313. Municipal Complex, $506,682. Planning and Development, $1,099,271. General Services, $1,244,654. Public Safety, Communications 911, $523,537. Police Department, $2,742,784. Fire Department, $2,475,173. Health and Welfare Department, $371,747. Public Works, Sanitation, $177,409. Streets and Roads, $2,699,408. Library, $403,083. Debt Service, $1,170,069. Public Service Enterprises, Cemetery, $206,713. Airport, $112,954. Recreation and Parks, $400,013. CSB Recreation, $1,133,456. And also added outside agency, $25,000, for a total expenditure of $17,284,788. $17,284,788. Revenue summary. Taxes, $17,050. Interest on taxes, $425,000. State of New Hampshire, $1,056,500. License permits and fees, $2,138,920. Departmental revenue, $1,085,098. Rent of city properties, $71,616. Payments in lieu of taxes, $92,683. Miscellaneous revenue, $82,220. From fund balance, $1,063,590. From capital reserve, $108,000. Used to reduce the tax rate, $500,000. Revenue total of $6,640,677. Dated this 13th day of June 2018, the City of Claremont, County of Sullivan, State of New Hampshire. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so the resolution was read by myself, was seconded by Assistant Mayor Dameron. Any further discussion before we open it up for a public hearing? Just for clarity, what is the tax rate now with these changes?
15.177, a 2.27% increase, 34 cents.
15.177
is the projected tax rate. 2.27% increase over the current rate, which is a 34-cent increase. $39.46 a year on the average home, 11 cents a day.
Okay, no further discussion? Okay, we'll open up for a public hearing. Is there anybody who would like to speak to the budget? Silence. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Bring it back to the council. All those in favor of this budget? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The budget passes. Okay.